If you want to play anywhere up the neck beyond the nut, you should know these two basic bar chord shapes, and not just for playing chords, but because so many basic riffs and licks happen in the same place. Like if I say some random note name, say B, you should be thinking B here at the 2nd fret, and an octave higher, and here at the 7th fret, and an octave higher. Because once you know those two basic shapes and how to move them around the neck, then it's just a matter of filling in the gaps, the spaces in between. And caged, C-A-G-E-D, is just a fancy name for that whole process. The second solo in Heartbreaker is a good example of moving through all 5 of these areas in sequence going up the neck, using some common licks from each one and some licks that Jimmy Page favored and you'll hear in other Led Zepp songs. I'm not going to try and teach the licks, although hopefully the camera angle will help you with that. Instead, it's more about where they come from and how to help you start finding them on the neck. The shapes, as always, come from my free web app, The Building Blocks of Rock, at guitarviz.com. And as always, if you like what you see, please remember to like or subscribe. Rhythm guitar starts it off. Using some of these basic double stop shapes. Continues. And here comes the solo. Starting off with the open position. Look at where your first finger is. It's at the 2nd fret. That's the same fret as where you'd bar an open A chord. And it doesn't matter if it's an open A chord or a movable A-shaped chord. When your first finger goes to where that little 3-string bar is, when you do that, you're in this position. Same position where you'd play this basic major pentatonic scale shape. Or licks like these. Or the lick like this next one that Jimmy uses. And notice how his first finger is already in position at the lowest note in the lick. Because that note is the same as the last note of the previous lick. 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Now slide up the 3rd string. Now look at where your first finger is. It's here at the 5th fret. These are all licks in A, and when you're playing in A, and your first finger's here at the 5th fret, you're in this real basic position, same as this basic bar chord shape, minor pentatonic scale shape. He's moving through the different positions, the different shape families, starting with this open A, passing through what you might think of as G shape, up to where the E shape lives. Different shape families, but these are all licks in A. The root in all of them is A. So he's here at the 5th fret, but he doesn't actually stop here and play any licks, which is kind of unusual. It's like the most common position of all, right? Many guitarists would be tempted to stop and throw out a few licks here, but no, he keeps going. Blast right through this, sliding up the 2nd string, up to where this next shape area lives, the D shapes. For A, your 3rd finger would be here at the 10th fret of the 2nd string, and you're in position to play licks like these. Like he does. And he hangs out here for a bit. Now watch carefully. Moving from this double stop to the other one. I had a video about this a few months ago. Now you're probably thinking, so what? He moved his first finger up 2 frets. Who cares? Well, when your first finger is in that position, it opens the door to these other types of licks that you might not be as familiar with. They live in between the basic E shape and the A shape. Here, a couple frets below the A shape, and what you might call the C shapes. And this note is one of Jimmy Page's favorite destinations on the guitar neck. First finger here at the 10th fret of the 2nd string. 2 frets down from the root on the 5th string, this A shape, here at the 12th fret. There's the 10th fret. And 5 frets up from this basic 6th string root. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these next several licks use the minor pentatonic scale shape in this position. But he sometimes adds the 6th, a note which isn't in the minor pentatonic scale, like in this first lick where he bends the 1st string. He's bending up a whole step from the 5th to the 6th, up to this note. And then down through the other notes in the shape to this next lick, which is a series of fast hammer-ons and pull-offs on the 2nd string. Helps to leave the 1st finger down while you're doing those. And now, the next lick, less common. I don't have a shape for it, but it's basically these 4 notes. 2 of those notes aren't in the minor pentatonic scale. This, that's the 2nd. And that note, once again, the 6th. Finally, into this big bend. Where he's bending up between 3 and 4 semitones from this note up about 3 or 4 frets. So up to this note, which is the same as this note. Whew. Don't try this at home, kids. Jimmy does some of these same moves and plays some of these same licks in other songs. Dazed and Confused. First string bend. Fast hammer-ons and pull-offs on the 2nd string. And big bend on the 2nd string. Whole Lot of Love. Big bend on the 2nd string. Both those songs are in E. The root is E, not A like it was in Heartbreaker, but it's the same position. 2 frets down from that 5th string root A shape, which in E is down here, but can also be up here, right? 2 frets down. Or 5 frets up from that 6th string root E shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 17th fret of the 2nd string is where your 1st finger is. In my amp, I've filed licks like this under the C tab. Your 1st finger is in the same spot it would be for, that movable C7 chord shape, for example. For other riffs and licks in this area, it wasn't always as clear whether they live under the C or the D tabs. Pay less attention to how I filed them and more attention on how to get your finger into the right spot for the chord or key you're playing over. And one of the easiest and most common ways to do that is just to come up the neck from this basic E-shape position. For example, in A, we're down here at the 5th fret. Here's a minor pentatonic scale shape. Just use this little lick to slide up the 3rd string. And voila, your 1st finger's there in position. That's why I made a whole video on this lick. Be sure to check it out if you haven't done so already. Now, at this point in this solo, there's several layered guitars. It's hard to tell what's going on. Sounds something like this. But then, cutting through the mix, you hear this one guitar playing this D7 shape. That's a D shape, and the root is the 4th string. For A, that'd be here at the 7th fret. And then he keeps going all the way up to where his 1st finger's on the 12th fret. He's back in A position. But he's come full circle. He come an octave higher, starting in open A position, working his way through all the other positions, and now he's back here in A, playing some notes from the minor pentatonic scale at this position. But he starts off with a note that's not in the minor pentatonic scale. It's this, our old friend, the sixth. And finally ending with this lick. An oblique bend. You bend one string while holding a note on the other. In this case, it's the second string that you bend while you hold the note on the first string at the same fret. Adding a bit of vibrato as you do it. Most YouTube channels show that last lick as being a slide up the second string. But there's a couple of telltale signs that point to it being this lick instead, one of them being this video, which has a nice close-up of Jimmy playing that bend. Finally, I want to mention that although in this video I focused on using those two main shapes to help you find the in-between shapes and licks, if you know the names of the notes on all the strings, you can sometimes go directly there. For example, those Jimmy Page licks we were looking at earlier, where the first finger's on the 10th fret of the second string. Click on any shape in the app, that'll show you the intervals, and notice that where your first finger is, that's red, that's a root note. So instead of thinking, well, I got to count down 2 frets from the 5th string root, or up 5 frets from the 6th string root, just ask yourself, it's a root note, where on the 2nd string is an A note? Answer, 10th fret. That's where the lick goes. Say you want to use that lick in D instead. Where on the 2nd string is a D note? Here, the 3rd fret, or the 15th fret. That's where the lick goes. Well, in some ways, this video has been a continuation of my previous one where I talked about some of these common licks to get from one part of the neck to the next. This video also looks forward to the next couple videos where I hope to focus more on the most common bends in each of these 5 areas, C, A, G, E, D. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Oh, and please remember to like or subscribe. See you next time.